So, you're studying for the OSCP, or maybe you're already doing professional pen testing. Either way, you know the absolute nightmare of a virtual lab that just decides to give up on you. Your laptop sounds like it's about to take off, Kali is freezing, and you're just burning hours troubleshooting instead of actually hacking. Well, today, we are diving into a playbook to turn all that frustration into the stable, efficient lab you really need.
I mean, come on. Isn't that just the absolute truth? It always happens at the worst possible moment. If you've ever felt that pressure, you know it's not just about a slow VM. It's about losing your momentum, your confidence, and most importantly, valuable time you are never, ever getting back.
Oh yeah, you know these symptoms, don't you? That jet engine whine from your laptop's fan, the stuttering Kali instance right when you're about to get a shell, and virtual networks that feel totally random and nothing like a real client engagement. Every single one of these is a little friction point that just drains your energy and kills your focus.
Okay, let's really dive into this. The problem isn't usually one single catastrophic failure, right? It's more like a pileup of all these small, modern frictions. But here's the good news. There is a clear path out of this chaos and toward a lab that is completely and totally under your control.
This right here, this is the absolute foundation for everything else. We get so caught up in these endless online debates about the best hypervisor. But the real goal is just a stable platform for whatever you're working on, whether it's that exam prep or a real client project. The right tool is simply the one that gives you the fewest headaches.
Okay, so with that new mindset, let's tackle the first big decision. Which VMware product actually fits what you need to do? This isn't about ego, it's not about what's cool, it's just about matching the tool to the job at hand.
You know, at a high level, it seems like a simple free versus paid choice. And Player's fantastic for simple labs, no question. But the magic of Pro isn't just about more features. The real difference is how quickly it lets you recover from your mistakes without losing an entire day of work.
And this is a big one. It's a question that gets overlooked way too often. You have to answer this honestly because it affects your decision not just from a technical perspective, but from a professional and a licensing one too.
Look, this checklist just lays it all out, nice and simple. If you're doing paid work or if your employer will reimburse you, then getting Pro is the professional, compliant way to go. And if you're self-studying, you can justify the cost just by thinking about how many hours of sheer frustration it's going to save you.
I absolutely love this way of framing it. A Pro license is not a status symbol. It's an insurance policy on your time. And when you're in those final, brutal weeks before a big exam, saving even a few hours a week with better snapshots and cloning, that is absolutely worth the investment.
All right, so you've picked your tool. Now it's time to get under the hood and really tune this engine. Let's look at the simple, super practical fixes that will stop your lab from grinding your entire machine to a halt.
This is it. This is probably the single most important rule right here. We all have this temptation to over-allocate RAM to our VMs, but that just starves your main operating system. And look, if your host can't breathe, nothing is going to run well. So if you're on a 16-gig laptop, that means leaving at least 4 gigs just for the host itself. Don't starve the host.
So on top of that big rule, here are 3 super easy wins. First, right-size your VMs. Your Kali box almost never needs more than 4 gigs of RAM. Second, keep your active, hot machines on your fast SSD storage. And third, move all your archival or cold VMs over to a slower drive to save that premium space.
Okay, let's talk networking. I know, this is where things can get super confusing super fast. But the key is to match the mode to the story you're trying to tell. Use NAT mode when your Kali machine needs to get out to the internet for updates and tools, and use host only when you're simulating an internal network, like for an Active Directory lab, completely isolated from everything else.
And here is the pro move. This is how you get the best of both worlds, and it's brilliant. You give your Kali machine 2 network adapters. The first one connects to that private, internal, host-only network, so you can attack your targets. The other one connects to NAT, so you can still get out and download tools and updates. It mimics a real attack path and keeps your lab so much cleaner.
Look, a fast lab is awesome. But you know what's even better? A lab that doesn't completely fall apart when you make one wrong move. So let's move on to the professional habits that prevent disasters and make your lab a safe place to experiment.
Oh man, we have all been there. You look at your list of snapshots and it's just test 1, test 2, before I broke it, final test. They're totally useless because there's no context. The real power of snapshots comes from discipline, not just from the feature itself.
So let's fix that. Here are 3 super simple rules. First, name your snapshots like a mini incident report. The date, what you changed, and why. Second, be aggressive about pruning old ones. Keep it to 3 or 4 max to keep things snappy. And third, for those really critical baseline machines, export the entire VM to an external drive. That's your ultimate safety net.
And hey, let's not forget about the machine that's running this whole show, your host computer. Your lab is only as secure as the machine it's on. Full disk encryption, that's non-negotiable. Using a separate, non-admin account for your lab work prevents so many costly mistakes. And always keep a backup of your critical stuff somewhere else entirely.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground, but the point of all this isn't just to learn some new stuff, it's to actually do something about it. So let's distill all of this down into a concrete plan you can execute in the next 15 minutes. Here it is, your immediate action plan. First, just commit to one hypervisor on your main machine. Second, go adjust the RAM on just one VM using that 25% rule. Third, find one messy snapshot and either rename it or delete it. Fourth, give one of your networks a meaningful name. And finally, just double-check that your disk encryption is on. Small, concrete steps. That's how you get a stable lab.
So here's the real takeaway from all of this. The frustration you're feeling, it doesn't come from the software. It's not VMware's fault. It comes from all those small, unmade decisions that just pile up over time. By consciously deciding on your lab's purpose, tuning its performance, and protecting your work, you are taking back control.
And that brings us to the end. Don't try to go and fix everything all at once. That's a recipe for getting overwhelmed. Instead, just look at your lab right now. Think about what drives you the most crazy, and ask yourself this: what's the one bottleneck you're going to fix tonight?